My name is Amanda Jenkins and I shall be doing this session today. I've been with Silvalea 22 years, so I've got a wealth of sling knowledge and hopefully I will share some of that with you. Today's session is actually on standard slings, understanding standard sling shapes, identifying what they look like, knowing what their advantages are and their limitations. So we're going to cover each of them. So we've still got a couple of cameras on. I don't know if there's a problem with you guys, your end, but if you would please try and turn the cameras off. But I will start. We have lots of helpful information for you, posters, which we can let you have at the end, and that will help with understanding the slings we talk about rather than remembering everything. But Alice, if you can kindly bring up a sling poster. This is the poster that sort of shows you the standard sling shapes. So how we try and explain, because slings can be an absolute mystery, which ones to choose, what are they? But within the industry, there are actually only approximately six sling shapes. If you can just pan out a little bit, please. 6 sling shapes on the left, so that we can see those six boxes. So these are the slings we're going to look at today. They are slightly different shapes and they will all do something slightly different. They will all have limitations as well, which we'll cover. So once you get to know those sling shapes and what they're used for, then it will help with choosing fabrics, things that you can add on, and things like that. So we'll cover each of the shapes in detail. The poster also shows you where to measure for these standard shapes and any add-ons. If it just pan out a little bit, please, Alice, there's a little section on the USPs and the add-ons you can have on the right, which I guess we will also go through during the session. So that's the poster which we can let you have. So we'll start by looking at our first sling, which is a fast fit. This is a fast fit shape, very popular within the industry, called many different things: quick fit, universal, easy fit, general purpose. Lots of different names for this, but we call it a fast fit. So in addition to your poster, the website has lots of helpful information, and each sling will have a data sheet, sizing guide, sling shape on the website. Alice, if you can just bring up the data sheet for the fast fit, then we can show you what additional information we can help with as well. So it will give you the sling shape, some useful points. So on the website, this is the home page for this product, but if you scroll down to the data sheet and just open that up and then show you all the information you can have, which you can print off, and it might be useful if you're using this shape. It gives you the sizes, the codes, the size of the sling, where to measure. So lots of helpful information there. Fabric choices. So this will help. There's also on the website sling size guide, shape guide, instructions of use, and the photographs. You can scroll through those. They show you lots of different angles, so you can see how it looks on the sling, on the hoist there, and on the body. So we just come back to the studio then, and we'll just Judith, my colleague here, is just going to help. This, just talking about slings in general, the standard slings are polyester. So polyester is a really robust fabric. The standard sizes will have for safe working load of 220. So from extra small to extra large, there'll be a safe working load of 220, which is 35 stone. So all the sizes will have that. And that's because everything on here has been calibrated to in excess of that weight. So the fabric, the binding, the webbing, how many stitches per inch, the threads, everything is being calibrated to ensure that you can have that safe working load on there. So even though it's a small size, it will still have the same safe working load. The labels are very important. We now have woven labels, which will, they don't fade over time, so they are very good with lots of information on there, the safe working load, the washing temperatures, the codes, any safety instructions are detailed on the Sling label. It's very important that the label is legible. So you need to encourage all carers to check that the Sling is legible, otherwise it will contravene the loaner regulations, so they should take it out of use. So checking all the information. The size label is also woven. There is a unique serial number to each sling, date of manufacture, and a useful place to put a name. But lots of help there. Standard slings are, the colour coding is fairly universal across all companies. So small is red, medium is yellow, green is large. The larger sizes and the smaller sizes may vary, but there is going to be an update within the industry to try and uniform the other sizes as well, but double check. There's handles on standard slings, but we don't put them on our specialised ones because in case they're going to be left in for extended periods, and then of course you've got potential pressure. So just standard slings will have handles. So that's generally about the sling. So I'm going to put this on Judy so we can see what it looks like. As I say, it's a general purpose shape. We're going to use a nice open chair, and of course Judith is going to be very compliant. It's a divided leg sling, so it will be introduced within this chair quite easily, but you need to make sure you get it to the base as far down as possible. Label on the outside, so ensure you've got it as far down as possible so you get it to the base of the seat. Don't worry about trying to line up the top bit here. That will sort itself out when we hoist, but ensure you've got it as far down as possible. And then we take the leg sections. They're padded for comfort, and you bring them round towards the knee. So we can check we've got it down far enough because we can get the leg paddles around towards the knee and then cross them through the loop there. This is the standard application of applying it. You may find that in some situations you don't need to cross them. That will be down to an individual risk assessment because it will open up the aperture, display the legs if you're leaving them uncrossed, and then of course you may be vulnerable of slipping through. So we will cross them. The tapes are colour coded for visual and for positioning. Bring in this hoist. We'll start with the general position is short shoulder, long leg. So we start with that. It's all about working it out. It's a bit of a jigsaw. But if we start with a short shoulder and a long leg, see whether that gives us the right position. If it doesn't, then we have to sort of lower our patient back down and readjust. Got that little bit twisted. It's always important not to go too far and double check in case you've got anything caught wrapped around a chair. But before you take go too far, just double check we've got it on. The loops are secure. Right, so we can see it's giving support, full body support here. There is access for hygiene transfers if we need to, although we'll have to move clothing. But we can see here. Just a general pickup, general standard pickup. So ideal for, I would say, compliant situations, compliant transfers. It's a general transfer sling. It's giving full support. We can add things onto it if you need a head support, which I'll show you. If, however, Judith was quite active and wriggly and she extends, you might find that the groin strap will sort of cut into her groin. So these leg sections would bite in. So if you've got that type of situation, I would suggest that we look at something else. So use it as a standard general purpose sling. The other thing that can happen is as the leg sections come around and through and they go up to the hoist, you might get some slight external rotation of the hip. So if you're having a situation whereby you've got someone with really painful joints, arthritis, osteoporosis, then this may not be so comfortable. We need to look at a different style. So treat this as a standard. This is the polyester version. We've got a couple of new viewers. If the new viewers would kindly turn their cameras off, please, because we're recording this session. This is the polyester. I have a mesh one, which is the mesh fabric. Mesh has got holes in, generally used for bathing. You can see the water would drain through more quickly with the mesh, although often use the poly, it's fine, but the water may pool a bit. But that's the mesh. Mesh fabric has got quilted legs. The other option would be to have a head support. So a head support on this style would be like this. So same bottom section. Just wrap it around you so we can see that side. It's a full head, arched head support. So it looks the same below, but it has these bones in. It also has a head support tape. So the head support tape feeds through the shoulder loop, then back into the sliders. If you've got slider there and then back the other side, it will give you tension to keep the head support in position. To be adjusted to recline a bit, which means if you don't want the bones, take them out. I know these bones can be a bit too firm. They need to be taken out for longer anyway. But just put your head back into that. It will naturally find curves of the head without the bones in anyway, maybe more comfortable. As long as you've got your head support tape in position, it will give good head support there. So that's the head support. It will have a mesh panel. Mesh panel is there for a purpose, so there's a little bit of peripheral vision. It's not such a solid fabric, which can be a little bit too enclosing for some. So there is a little mesh panel there. So very standard shape. I will just undo it and just see if there's any questions. Ask Alice if there's any questions on this shape first before we go too far.
No questions so far, Mandy.
The other thing that you can add is a chest strap. So the chest strap or waist support would be positioned within the sling, it'll be fitted in, but it will be either chest level, so on a lady it'll be under the bust, or at the waist. So you can determine which position. Some people like to have one so that it will help with positioning the sling correctly. If someone's got a little bit of movement, it might make them feel more secure if there's a waist support or a chest support there. But normally it will be made in the fabric, polyester fabric, with a bit of Velcro and tongue click. So on the standard fabrics, they can be added. So standard sling, we can add head supports, chest or waist supports. The other option is a neck roll. Sometimes the neck roll is a little bit more versatile than a full head support because it just nestles in the neck like that. And it will give them nice support in the neck, in the nape, rather than a full hooded head support that can do that. These can also be adjusted so that you can have move it to the side if someone leans over. And they are on a slider adjuster too. Feed that through the shoulder tape, back into the boot to adjust both sides. So quite straightforward. Once it's in position, it's sort of connected. It can be left in position there. You just put it. So it might be comfortable and an option rather than having the head. That's the neck roll. So that's the first style. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll
Mandy, we do have a quick question. Would you use the head support one with someone who moves around?
That'll be down to the individual risk assessment. So if you've got someone that tends to throw their head backwards, then maybe it's going to be helpful. They're not going to sort of force their head too far back if there's something there. It really does depend on the individual. If you're picking up more in a recline position or from the bed or the floor, then you would need a head support. So rather than having strain on the neck and the head, so you would need to think about that. But it's an extra thing to add on. So thinking, you know, carers like things simple. So if you don't need one, then don't have one. But if you think that it's going to be helpful, then I would say, and it's necessary, you will need to risk assess for it to work out whether it's going to be beneficial. For that one, the next style is our Fast Fit Deluxe. So Fast Fit Deluxe, it's a very different shape. It's quite square with different shaped legs. So they look so different from this Fast Fit. It's got a different shape. But we will put that on, explain the benefits of this one. Again, it's a divided leg sling. I'll get it in the chair. This is sometimes called a hammock as well. Actually, I might zoom in a little bit on the leg section so we can see this. Slightly different type of leg. So we've got, let's explain, we've got these leg paddles now that are going to wrap around Judith's femur like that. So two individual leg paddles. Then they connect together with this modesty strap here. That's keeping the legs together. Then the outside tape, long outside tape feeds through the inner one, or whichever is appropriate depending on the thigh circumference like that. So here, the legs are being picked up from the outside. Just attach it to the hoist. Again, we're going to go short shoulder, long leg. Let me take up the slack so we can see. Okay, make sure we've got it all attached. A little bit more fiddly to attach these leg tapes. So you've got to wrap it around each femur, connect it together. But it's going to give a bit more support. Zoom out of it. Because of the leg shapes now, we're having individual support from these paddles. So if you've got a wriggler, individual control, because they're independently then supporting each leg. An extender, so someone that's got this more active, it's a better shape. And also because it's picking up the legs from the outside now, there's less likelihood of the rotation of the hip. So more comfortable from the outside, because the leg tapes are here. That's quite important. Because of these leg paddles also, this has been used successfully on long limb amputees. If you have someone with a knee and below amputation, then the residual leg will comfortably sit within that paddle. Amputees are, you know, you have to sort of assess individually because it depends on the length of the stumps. If the stumps are too short, then they could slip back through this aperture. So think about long limb, knee and below, standard slings are fine. When they're shorter, then we think about another style, which I'll explain later. But this is still a full body sling. This full body, there's still access. So divided leg slings you can still use for a hygiene transfer if clothing is removed. So it's still possible. And we can add things on. So we can still add on the head support, neck roll, the waist or chest support. So that can be added to this as a standard, or the mesh fabric. So those options for this one. other way of using this style is just to use the leg section slightly differently, which I will explain. Just take the thing off a moment. This is such a square shape and the legs will lay very square. You can lay the legs on top of each other. So we take one under the other. So we're going to create like a seat. And then take the longer outer tape through the smaller one. And it will then create a hammock type position. Going to I know over the years some people frown upon this a little bit because you're going to be very vulnerable and it could be slightly worrying, particularly if you've got someone with movement. So you really would have to risk assess whether it's suitable. If you've got someone that's very compliant, that is not likely to move about, wears a dress or a skirt, then it might be a preferred option. It will close the knees together and the hips, so you need to think about that. Will it have an impact on that? So, and it will close up your aperture if you do apply it in this position. So you need to just think about that application. But this is possible. Are there any questions on that, Alice?
No questions so far, Mandy.
Okay. The other thing that is worth pointing out is that your hoist is really important. So if we're looking at a standard situation, it's not so bad. But if you're looking at something more complicated, then it's really important to ensure we've got the right spreader bar width. Because whatever you put on that spreader bar, it will be dictated to the width of that bar. So if we've got someone that's very shapely and has got very painful joints, and you're taking all the tapes up to a narrow spreader bar, going to force them to protract the shoulders or squash them. So it's really, it's got to be the success of hoisting is a combination between the right sling and the right hoist. This one is ideal for Judith because it's, it's as wide as her widest part. But, if you're having a problem, then just check. There's lots of options now, particularly if you want to open up the spreader bar. So you don't want to sort of fold someone, open them up, then have a 4-point. So, there are lots of different types, but it is a really important thing to double check if you've got problems and you're not sure what's going wrong. So that is the Fast Fit Deluxe. So we'll move on to the next style. So that's 2 families of slings, and there's lots of versions. Lots of different companies call them different things. They may have different slightly shaped legs. You've got that on different colours. Pointier legs include a head support, include a hip tape, but they'll be based on one of those 6 shapes. So that's the Fast Fit Deluxe. Now the next style is a Universal Deluxe.
Mandy, we do just have a quick question. Somebody said, I'm wondering if you can demo the chest strap integrated with the sling, how it gets applied. Thanks.
Okay, I will put it on when I put the next one on. Yeah, no problem. Just going through this is the Universal Deluxe shape. So it's a very similar principle of leg paddle, but slightly more angled. It's not square like this one. It's more shaped. So it's a much more shaped sling. Still a divided leg. Still has a divided leg, so we can get it off within the chair. The shaping, though, is much more shaped around the hip. The leg paddles will slide around. Okay. I will zoom in again, that might help to see it better. So the leg paddles, Jude's got those round for me, which is helpful. Then we've got this modesty loop here that connects them together. And then the outside tape feeds through. It's much neater because it's more shaped. The neater shaped sling. Got an extra tape there, which I'm just going to tuck in for a minute. So we can see here. Yellow. Different, you have to sort of use different pickups depending on the shape. Slings are, because of the design, they can be slightly different. You might find you need a different shape so that you come away from the spreader bar a little bit. A bit more tailored differently. Okay. Yeah. So as I said, it's a similar principle to the Fast Fit Deluxe, where it's wrapped around the femur. Individual support from those leg paddles. So it's again a good style for a wriggler because you've got individual control from those leg paddles. Won't shoot up into the groin like the very first style we saw. So a much better shape. This is a go-to style. This is one of our preferred ones because we know you've got lots of support, still full body, still access for toileting. It is a good shape. With the addition of a hip tape, now this is an addition. Jude can just spin. So hip tapes can be added to certain styles. They can be detachable. Take it off and show you. So we would put a loop on the sling here. Then you can apply tape. Looks like this. It's got a slider and a little plastic bar or a D-ring. And it had a little metal D-ring there, but we've moved on to the plastic bar now, which can just get pushed out the way. That bar or the D-ring's there so that if I extend this full length, I don't lose that loop as you're fighting to open it. But it feeds through this loop, the sling, and then knocks back on itself. Down. So what we have to do then is get the right tension. So on this one, I'd have to lower Judith down, but I can get the right tension. The idea is that it lifts at the same tension and the same time as the leg. So that it will help then to lift the hip bottom area, which will help distribute the weight and take pressure from behind the knee. It's a really useful addition if you can just see. Just relax, Jude, and it will just lift Judith's hip. So if you've got someone that's got painful joints, like we sort of touched on earlier, then helping to lift that area there will help. Really useful for that type of situation. You can adjust the tension. It will take then the pressure from behind the knee there. But also often used asymmetrically. So if you've got someone that's leaning and hanging out of a sling, then you can adjust the tape like that. Nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly okay as long as you have risk assessed that it's suitable. So rather than having someone holding that person in because they're falling out, you can then just adjust the tapes. Even using different pickup, often you've got to be imaginative and work it out, and that can happen, and I know has been successfully used just to correct a better transferring position for that patient. So hip tapes are good. They work very well on this style because of the angle of the shape of sling. So that I would say, if you need to have a little bit more, rather than folding up, then try the hip tape. So that is the Universal Deluxe. Universal Deluxe doesn't hammock the legs though. The legs are too short. This has to be used in a traditional way, which is like this. So let us ask, are there any questions for this one, Alice? Good.
No questions, Mandy.
Okay, thank you. So we've seen three styles, so 3 families. Fourth one, I'm just going to bring in on a different hoist. I've just got this style. So this is we call it the recline. Stu's got one she's holding up. As you can see, it's oblong. It's quite oblong here. The little pommel strap here. Feed the tape through. This would need to be applied on the bed. There's no divided leg section, so it would be a bed application for this one. I mean, you can get it on in a chair, but it needs lots of skill and side sheets and things like that. But it is a very popular sling. There's no aperture though, so you can't do a hygiene transfer with it. But you can see on this model, I've got my amputee model. So it's quite useful for all types of amputee situation, particularly high and through hip. Got that type of scenario, then you need a sling that is like this. Will help. The pommel strap in the middle, this will help to lift that central bit and help to prevent the legs rolling and being pushed together. So it does take a little bit of the weight there, which makes it more comfortable. That's what the pommel strap's there for. And also a little bit of security. We have done slings in the past without that. If you can remember, some of you may know like the long seat shape, which is absolutely oblong. Still available, but this tends to be more popular. We tend to make it in this fabric, which is the Superfine Plus, which is a spacer mesh, often used for things that are left in situ for extended periods. It is a mesh, it can be used for bathing, but it's very smooth. Very smooth, there's no handles, so if it is left in, then we've got no potential handle rubbing. This one also has the vision for your hip tape. So the hip tape is there, so you can have the additional tape if needed. Quite useful on this style to help lift the hips area there. But you can add the, let me just find the chest strap. So the chest strap on this style be in a channel at the back. It would just be, would you want to just hold that for me? It would just fit round the chest. With a clump click.
Andy, we have a quick question about, is this suitable for someone with extensive spasm?
Right, okay, I'll cover that. So that's the chest strap. Well, that's positioned at the chest, it can be lower. So it will be on a standard sling, it'll be fitted. It's fitted in the sling and then just bring it round. On a sling that's left in for extended periods, it's in a channel, so it's removable. So if you're not sure, just check with us and we'll explain. This shape of sling, so thinking about someone that's got lots of movement, extends and has all sorts of spasming type things, I would say this isn't a good sling. It's not a good shape. You need more control from the sling. Paddle leg ones, they will control somebody better. I would say this, I wouldn't suggest this is used for an extender, no. Because you're quite vulnerable. You know, if someone sort of extends out of this, only got that, it's not ideal, no. Got other options. That helps. Are there any others, Alice?
Yeah, we do have one more question. Someone said, am I right in thinking that spacer material slings can only be fitted in bed by rolling and not in the chair in a seated position? Thank you.
Okay, bear with me, just got something down on my computer. Spacer slings. So spacer slings, it's the fabric. So spacer is the fabric. So it depends on the style. This is an oblong sling that needs to be applied on the bed. But that shape sling can be in different fabrics. The spacer is the fabric, so that we can do most slings in spacer fabric. So it's the shape that denotes how you apply it. This one, as I said before, it's tricky to get on in a chair. So you would have to either roll bed, or if you can't do that, you can introduce flat sheets, 2 flat sheets underneath them, scissor the sling between them, then you can introduce it somebody flat. Or if you can roll, then it's helpful. But the fabric, the spacer is the fabric. So just remind me if I answered that question, Alice. I can't think now, but I've answered all of it.
Yeah, I think you have. It was just about space of material slings only being fitted in a bed, but you can. It's the shape that denotes that.
Shape that denotes just fitting it in the bed, not the fabric. Okay, so we're happy with this. This is the comfort recline. Just move that one out the way, and then we will look at toileting slings. So toileting, hygiene, dressing, whatever you like to call them, we can see there's not much to it. This is our toilet sling. Do you like to hold that? So a Silvalea toilet access sling will have a Velcro waist support and a club click buckle. So we have both. Security, some may not have both, but we certainly have both. The other feature we've got are these little shaped areas at the top of the leg, a bit of scomping there, which means we get more access when we get into clothing. Velcro's great as long as it's not matted and clogged up. So you need to encourage everyone to close it when it's not in use and when it's being laundered. Otherwise it will, once it gets all clogged and matted, it will be efficient. So we'll put, yeah, waist support. Oh, yes, Suze was saying the width of the waist support on our style, we have the waist support fitted as wide as we can. So it's as fitted. Some others are sort of start back here and they're quite loose, whereas this is fitted as wide as possible, and that makes a massive difference actually to give a bit more support. But easy to get on. Carers like this because you just need to get it on around. You haven't got to struggle to get it down here. And so, it makes it an easier thing to get on. And often when they need to be put on, quite quickly. There is a loop at the bottom which will thread the leg tapes together so they don't splay. Yellow. Arms are on the outside. This one's got padding under the arms. Do ones without padding. But this is one with a padded roll. So we can see, let's just look at it. Sorry, Jude. That we have lots of access. So this is the beauty of this style. Lots of access to get to clothing, to do a transfer, which means you haven't got to remove all the clothing. But what can happen, I don't know, Jude, if you lose tone, this. So quite often you may see that, and they're still clinging on to this sling because they know, it doesn't mean having a full sling for toileting. So this is not great. There are a couple of tips, however, that I can share with doing this on in a better way. Let's just start again. So the first thing is to fit the sling low. It's got to fit low. It's a waist support, not a chest support. Fit it at the waist. And the other thing is to go down size. So I'm going to put a smaller sling on, Judith, because I know it's normally small, but I'm using extra small in this one because it will fit better. So we'll start smaller sling, one size down, and fit the waistband as firmly as possible at the waist. And the front clip needs to be fitted as firm as possible. Start again. So we thread the legs together. Arms on the outside. Just take it up the slack slowly. Go too far. So we've gone down a size, we've fitted it low. What then tends to happen is as the hoist takes up the slack, the body will elongate and then the waist support will loosen off. So at that point, you can tighten it by pulling on the webbing strap. So just pulling that webbing strap. I'm going to just take you down and put you on the green. Just keep the hoist away from Julie's face. I'm going to just drop the shoulders to the green this time. You see, it's a bit more comfortable than a head bash. So again, just check. Right, that's better. Much more comfortable. So now, if she loses tone, trying. Yes. It's really trying, so it's made a huge difference just by doing. Not moving. Not moving at all. Nothing is. So just remember, you know, fit it low and fit it firmly. Go down a size and then double check that once the body's elongated that you've got this as firm as you can. You should be able to get a couple of finger width under that axilla there. You know, if you're finding it's still riding up and pushing the shoulders up, then something's wrong. You know, you think about, okay, it's too big, I've fitted it low, it's firm, but if that's still happening, then sadly there's going to be a point when it's not going to be appropriate, and then you're going to have to think about going into a full body sling. So it will have a limitation and safety aspect, so you need to be really mindful of that with this style. You know, still removing clothing is tricky. I would say before you get the waistband on, undo buttons, shimmy clothing down, loosen it, pull it down, because it could get caught up underneath that waist support there. So it's still tricky to get big baggy trousers or underwear to pull them down enough. But of course, this is the best style to allow for that. There are others. Now we're just showing you the absolute standard styles today, but each of those styles has others, sort of the next level, that are in still the same family, but you know, we've got other options for toileting with a bit more support, a head support built in. So there are others that we cover in different sessions. So you know, this is just purely to show you the standard shapes. But please look at the website for other sessions that may be helpful if you have other issues that aren't quite so standard.
We do have a couple of questions on this one, Mandy.
Yeah.
So we've got, is there any way to fit this from lying in bed, please?
Okay, you can, absolutely. This can be fitted in the bed. Got a profiling bed, then fine, that will help to sit them up, because you wouldn't want to just hoist somebody up, pulling them from there. You need to make sure you've got good back and head support. We have done this shape with a head support. So you would have section, turn this round here. So it's a built-in head section here. So it is possible. Again, it's always down to an individual risk assessment. You know, we won't say no because it might be absolutely appropriate for somebody, but you just need to be very mindful of the strain on the back and the head if you're applying it from flat.
Thank you, Mandy. Another question was when Judith originally put the sling on, it looks like it's pulling on her armpits.
So originally it was because it was too big, it was too loose, and it was riding up. So if it's riding up, then and doing that, pulling, then you need to think why, and then adjust it, make sure it's fitted low, make sure it's the right size, make sure the tapes are away from the hoist, so you know we corrected it by reapplying it properly.
And the final question, can the client keep their arms inside of the hygiene sling?
Okay, again, absolute very good question, and down to the individual. So, if they can bring them in without having a problem, fine. That's down to you. It will depend on the hoist, because if they want their arms in because of shoulder issues, think about your spreader bar width. Because if they're brought in, they still will protract in a sling like that, and it might force their shoulders to protract and cause more pain. And also it may mean they'll slip through. It could slip through. We do other styles that are designed for the arms in. If you look on the website for the continental low back, that style of sling is quite good. It's got a deeper back, but it's really got a reasonable aperture. So just look up that one, the continental low back style. That might help you if you have that situation. Good.
All good, Mandy, thank you.
Right, so we've seen 5. The last family, I have to bring in another hoist for the last family of slings. Just bring that one in, Jude, if you can pull. A bit limited for space, but this is the last style. So this is a high easy sling. Now this is a sling that's compatible with a stud or clip fixing hoist. So if you're having got a sort of a wishbone type spreader bar here with a stud fixing, then you need a certain sling, and we call it the high easy shape. So this is a hoist. You may not come across them, so you can dismiss this style. It makes it one less to think about. But there are lots of companies that make this shape, nice wishbone. It's a lovely shaped hoist because, of course, you've got lot of space there, lots not in your face like the other ones we've seen. So it means that, quite comfortable. The sling itself is a simple shape. It's a bit like the very first style, the fast fit, but it will always have a built-in head support. So this hoist will naturally pick up in a optimum body position, which is usually reclined. So we always put a good head support on bones in. So it will always have a bone head support. And the legs are only coming up here towards the knee. The sling legs are very short. You'll see that on the drawings on the poster. So the legs aren't coming up here to hook up above the head here. They're coming just above the knee. So naturally the slings leg sections are very short. But the clip here, got studs on the hoist. So you need to have a clip. This is our universal clip that lock on to the majority of the hoists with studs. Our universal clip there that locks on and gives you a lovely click. It's a great shape. There's only one shoulder and one leg pickup option, so simple for carers. But it does mean that you're limited to styles. You can only have this shape. There's this shape, slightly tweaked toileting sling and slightly tweaked for an in situ, but it has to be based on this shape. You can't have the deluxe legs, the paddle legs that we've got that help, with lots of active movement. You can't add a hip tape. There's nowhere to put a tape for a hip. You are limited if you have a stud type hoist. And you need to go for this range. So on the website, if you go to the main home page, it will help you with directing you clip fixing slings, loop fixing slings. So then it will give you the options underneath those sections. That should help. The other thing that will help you, and Alice, I don't know if you've got the sling selector available. We've got this fabulous poster that's got little thumbnail drawings of everything on the website. So if you're trying to select a range, then this may help. It's divided into the families we've talked about. So the first line is all the straight legs or the fast fit shapes. So it's got all those shapes, the standard shapes, the deluxe shapes, the hammock shapes, the toileting options. So we've only looked at the very first list, the first column of these. Just pan out a little bit, please. You know, we're giving you other options of stand aids, specialized slings. So if you're trying to pick a range, a selection, then it may, we can let you have a copy of this, which may help you. But you can see that there are other versions of each family, which we do cover in other sessions. So hopefully just getting to grips with the main shapes has been helpful, and then we look at the others in different sessions. So if you would like one of those, all we ask is that you send us a little bit of feedback. We'll send you a form, and you kindly put in a little bit of feedback, which helps us to improve the sessions, address things that you need addressing to make sure that we are doing what's helpful, and then we'll send you back all the helpful posters. But are there any final questions, Alice?
We've got one saying, in regards to the continental low back sling, just mentioned for patients who need or want to have their arms inside for when completing hygiene tasks. Is this a specific hygiene sling for multi-purposes?
Okay, we'll quickly show you one. Jude, can you just, I know it's a different session. We're covering this in the next session actually, which is toileting scenarios. So we will cover it again if you look at the website for that date. But just quickly, this is what it looks like. So this is the low back. Just put it around Judith. Time to hoist it, but just let me make sure it's clear for you. So it gives you, it finishes at the belt line. So this is a sling that we class as a part of the toileting sling family because of that reason. You've got the belt line free, and from the front it will fit to the hoist to allow the arms in like that. So thinking about that, just thinking about the width of your spreader bar. If it's quite narrow, it's going to really close the shoulders together. So think about that. If you've got a chance to join that session, I will go into more detail with that one, rather than hold everyone up now.
The toileting session is going to be on the 1st of December.
Okay.
But you can have a look at that on the prospectus. Have a look on the website, and you can just book that one in.
Oh, great! Thank you, June. So yes, that's the next one, 1st of December.
1st of December for the hygiene solutions.
Hygiene solutions. So we'll cover standard toileting slings and then move on to more complex situations, but slings that will give you good access behind. So hopefully that's been helpful. There's lots of helpful information on the website. As I said, please use that. If that still is not helpful, then please contact us. We have a great team here. We can answer loads of questions. We have the ability to link up, do e-assessments like this, demonstrate things, problem solve. So, you know, we do have lots of help available. We are also going to be at the OT show. So if you're going to be there, please come and visit us and have a look and say hello, which would be nice. But are there any other questions, Alice?
No more questions. Just as you already said, Amanda, if everybody, I will send an email out with the link to our YouTube channel and also the posters we followed today. If you could enter some feedback on the form that I send. Once we've received it back, I'll be able to send the Sling Selector poster. But thank you very much, Amanda, and everybody for attending today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alice, and thank you to Judith. And thanks, guys, very much. Hope to see you again.